Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week, Chris is back in the hot seat. We hear how flying capital ships may work, plus more information on shopping. If you are still to sign up to the RSI website, please use my referral code as shown on screen or in the description, and you'll receive 5,000 United Earth credits which can be spent in the Voyager Direct store for your ships, your character, or whatever you choose. You don't have to spend anything to sign up. It's only once you pledge that I'll be granted an RP point, which will get me some little rewards in the future. So Chris was back this week for 10 for the Chairman. First question was, will the vertical and horizontal flight modes be manually activated? And he says right now it's either one or the other for the captial. Obviously when it's landed it'll be horizontal, and then when it takes off it's vertical, and you won't be able to change between them. The Reliant does have a vertical and horizontal flight mode, so potentially they may not be limited. When it first becomes flyable they are unsure for the Reliant, but they want you to be able to fly close to planets, so you would probably prefer the horizontal mode rather than vertical for obvious reasons. There will be lots more interaction with ships and flight modes coming as time goes on. There's a big item refactor in the works, and the Reliant is built to fly in both modes. The captial, not so much. Second question, is there a chance the Banu or the Jan will come to your rescue if you activate a distress beacon, or is it strictly just humans? He says they haven't fully decided yet, but they would think that if you put out a distress beacon, if someone is listening for these distress beacons and they want to earn some UEC for the rescuing, then they'll pick it up and help. It also works on the dark side of things, so if the Vandal are around they may hear this and come after you. Again, it's still being fleshed out. It's a feature for the future, but you'd have the ability to give your position to maybe just your friends, to your org mates, or put it out to the whole of the verse, or well, that location. He says they may allow Banu and Jan to help if they are in the area, but they're not 100% sure yet. So, third question, will Squadron 42 be available in localized versions on release, or will they be added later? And he says they have built this into the game. The use prompts and people's scripts and talking will be localized. It will all come down to timescale, he says. Once English is locked in, they will then work on the translations. Some may just have subtitles and others may be full voice translations. But again, it will depend on how long the process will take. The good thing about it being a digital game is that it's not just sent out in a box in one language. So they may release the English version early to backers and then bring out the other scripted versions later on. Question after that is, will we get a ship-mounted shotgun? And Chris thinks it's a good idea. It's not one in the works, but it would be interesting for short-range attacks, maybe as an anti-personnel weapon trying to stop borders in EVA, or potentially a wide-hitting component damage weapon. As they finish up the components and move towards the PU, consumables like ammo and missiles will be more effective than energy weapons as they are finite. And as mentioned before, ballistic weapons will deal more damage than energy weapons, so it will be balanced because they are finite and you have to pay for them. There will be a lot more weapon management from players, especially when persistence comes in, and it will also depend on how you head into battle. So after that is, what is the possibility of development groups giving updates for each ship brand? And it's something he says that they want to do more, but once the manufacturers are fleshed out fully. As the universe goes on, they will have each manufacturer creating updates for the ships, like new models, just like we see in the real world with cars. So there'll be maybe a new body style for the 2948 Aurora. And this is what they're doing, is they're taking aspects from the real world and weaving them into the game to give us more of a sense of immersion, because we recognise them as how things are. The UK team is now branching out on RSI stuff, like the Bengal carrier, and the US team are working on cool stuff with the Drake. He says there's lots to be done, and potentially we'll see more updates from each brand, hopefully in fiction. So the next question is one that comes up quite often. Will there be more slots in the instances around Crusader? And he says yes, long term there'll be more than 24 players, which is what we have at the moment. They will open up the spokes on Port Olisar, and currently there are actually 64 easy hubs in Port Olisar, which is where you spawn in. They are going to add shops with persistence. Olisar is basically the template for space way stations, but they will make it more functional, and you will see these in the verse as you are travelling around. They're working on a lot of back-end stuff to have more players. They're going to have a mesh of cloud servers dealing with one area of space. Players will then travel through each server without realising it, so it'll be very streamlined for us. They will be able to increase the player counts and increase the server efficiency. They have actually been rewriting the back-end server and working on it for quite a lot of time now. It is still work in progress, and they are looking for network engineers, so do apply if you are a network engineer. Next question, what can we expect in regards to the yet-to-be-placed onto concept ships? And he mentions the Corvette, which is the RSI Polaris. This is replacing what the Idris was initially meant to be, and the Buccaneer is what the Cutlass was supposed to be as well, which is more of a pirate interceptor. Next up though is the Misk Prospector, which is the small mining ship where you'll be able to scan the land and draw in materials, take containers and place them on, say, a Hull C. It's a one-person version for mining, whereas the Orion is huge and not really meant for planetary mining. But other than that, he didn't pick up on other ones to come down the line, but I'm sure the Dragonfly will be one of them somewhere. So next question, will components have synergy bonuses if made by the same manufacturer? For example, an Aegis component, would it work better on an Aegis ship rather than a third-party component? And it explains that right now they're not conceiving this. It could be a case of maybe only the same manufacturer cooler would fit, like in the real world. But he did say he will bring it up in a discussion as they are finalising the component stats now. So potentially they could see using the same manufacturer's components giving a bit of a boost compared to a third party. So second to last question. How will larger ships like the Idris be controlled by the player for flight? Will it be cockpit or strategy layout holomap? What size ships would this begin from? And will they have sort of a manual control override? And he says the plan for capital ships is much like you see with seafaring ships. You'll have a helmsman plus multiple crew stations, so communications, weapons, radar, etc. And a captain's seat as well. Things like the Idris and Bengal will have these. They'll have many modes though. The big ships will be slow, and there will be some sort of holo display to maybe send a ship to a specific location, so you can set it on an automatic course and it'll take you there, but with the potential of taking control of it yourself. So final question, will some parts of the glaive be usable to repair the scythe, even though one is a human ship and one is Vandal ship? And he says yes, the Espera range is captured or old captured Vandal ships, so parts should fit each ship in themselves. They're not sure if there is a bonus for using a Vandal over a human part, or vice versa. We shall just have to see. Again, it's got to be fleshed out. Anyway, that was 10 for the chairman. Some really good questions there and great answers. It's good to see Chris back in the offices again. Let me know your thoughts. So on to Around the Verse episode 2.26. Starting with news from Around the Verse, the LA CIG office. They say they are wrapping up the interior stuff on the Caterpillar. The Light Marine is being worked on and characters and heads are also being worked on. Austin, Texas are focused hard on shopping all the time now. The inventory schema is set up in DataForge, which means that they can now put everything into this DataForge that will appear in the shops. A pricing formula for everything is being worked on also. And we will use Alpha UEC, which is the test currency. And it's there to be tested with and then just be wiped, so it doesn't affect our actual UEC accounts. They're honing in on what the prices should be. We'll earn this Alpha UEC via missions, maybe killing the highest wanted player or taking down pirates. They're also setting up the Cubby Blast shop inventory. There'll be different kinds of weapons. They're also adding mannequins with armor that we can buy. The new flight suit will be displayed on one of these, which is being worked on now, plus its variants. I'm not sure what that applies to. But because they've got no armor shop yet, it'll be in Cubby Blast. There is an armor shop on Levski, so when that comes in, we'll get to see that. But for now, it's just going to be Cubby Blast, as it wouldn't make sense in Kasaba. Foundry 42 in the UK are getting player health in. They're working on mantling and iterating on weapon gameplay and landing in the back of an Idris. Foundry 42 in Frankfurt, he says the weapon teams are in final stages for some ship weapons. They say one new and concept for two new ones. They're also in final concept for two new FPS weapons. They've done some R&D on terrain shadows, improvements on EVA, which they say are constantly being tuned. They've also fixed some projectiles to function in local physics grids, because obviously when gravity and so forth changes, projectiles will alter. They're doing a lot of AI bug fixing. They're working with interiors, testing AI in Idris terminals. They've also got a new health submitted, including the HUD. Phase 2 of the health system has begun. Very excited to get all this FPS stuff in. Now, the ATV interview this week was with Todd Pappy, who is a design director out of Frankfurt. And he says the goal now is to introduce non-combat roles. Currently, everything is focused around combat, and I'm so happy that he's going to move away from combat. Clearly, this was something that needed to be in quite early on, was combat. So now that's becoming to the point where they can start focusing on things, he says, like salvage, cargo, rescue, escorting, plus 5 more other jobs that they felt they could do a really good job on and flesh out the world. With saying this, he says combat is nowhere near finished yet though, so there's still a lot to go there. Balancing is very important for all aspects. And also environmental interaction in FPS is going on. So they want to have cover in first, then navigation, then looting, and so on and so forth. All this work applies to Squadron 42, not just the persistent universe, and anything that is Squadron 42 is of a higher priority. The wonderful world of Star Citizen today was with Captain Richard, who is a great Twitch streamer. I highly suggest following him on Twitch. Such a laugh and a great beard, I must point out. Anyway, most valuable post is Mike Willis for cataloguing every question and answer on 10 for the Chairman since it started. It's also apparently quite easy to navigate as well. I'll find the link. Do shout at me if I've forgotten the link. And the ATV fast forward this week, well, just words cannot even express how exciting it is. If planets are going to be this big, I am going to be lost the majority of the time. Anyway, that was Around the Verse. Very exciting, but quite short. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. So Reverse the Verse was back to normal this week. They started by explaining that they have kicked off the design for the Carrack and the Rover. Starting Monday, track jackets will be on sale with a bonus notepad for $49. They have worked on the event merch for Gamescom, sorted out the swag for CitizenCon, and apparently the Vanguard's intakes will soon be glowing, which sounds very cool. So next up, their little section was patch 2.4. They say it has been branched now, which means it's in a build now, and their QA are looking at it now themselves, making sure that they can squash any bugs that they get to before they release it to PTU. In this build, they are aiming for persistence, and also a new ship will be hangar ready and one will be flyable, but they did not specify which. It's also too early, unfortunately, to say exactly what will be in 2.4. In the Where's My Spaceship section, they say the internal concepts for the Caterpillar are now coming in. The Herald, interior and exterior, and the F7CA is being worked on as well, the Hornet. The UK team is working on the Javelin. Starfarer is having its space trials. As we know, it's now flyable. They've just started putting the damage effects in. The Misk Prospector is obviously the next sale coming up. This is a single person mining ship, so we've got some information there. It's a one person thing, so I'm hoping it's going to be around the $50 to $60 benchmark. We don't know yet. Also, they've kicked off a meeting for the Carrack's internals. Gurmak will be revisiting this after the Caterpillar is done. Now, they mentioned about the ATV Fast Forward, which was the procedural build which we saw earlier in today's show. They said that was from about a month and a half ago. It is by no means final, and obviously if it was a month ago, that means there's a lot more to it now. They've obviously been working on this for over a month and a half, so that is old news, but it's very exciting in itself. So the questions and answers, they kicked off the Ursa rover this week talking about it, and there'll be more for the next couple of days. Someone asked whether it's the intention to get every ship that has been announced ready for the commercial launch, but they say no, they don't think so, but they hope they can get as many done as possible. There will be a cut-off line for like new concept ships and so forth. Again, they haven't specified which ones will. The Dragonfly has gone through a design process. They are just waiting on concept artists to work on it. They mentioned that rewriting of the server backend will not delay the game development in any way. This is all normal in game development, but it won't hold up any work. They've done some work on the mining mechanic, but are waiting for devs to be freed up in order to kick off work on the RSA Orion. Obviously, the Misk Prospector will be the first mining ship we get. And finally, they asked will they sell more FPS weapons in Voyager Direct, and they said maybe, but they would like for us to get them in game. They like the idea that we have to find them, but in all fairness, it'll eventually be within the game in stores there like Cubby Blast, rather than using the Voyager Direct. The Voyager Direct store will probably leave once persistence is properly fleshed out and working to its full capacity. Anyway, a very quick reverse the verse there. Let me know your thoughts. Also this week we saw a new Aramis post titled Day 1 A New Dawn. I am still to read this, so no spoilers please. There was a new galactic guide showcasing the Kaifa system. Mark was back with Bug Smashers episode 22. April's subscriber flare is the cool Hornet F7CR Takayetsu model. And finally, the March monthly report is available, which I will pick through and bring a separate video to. So just a quick heads up for those who prefer to listen to Star Citizen Sunday on the move. I'm in the process of adding all of the episodes of Star Citizen Sunday to SoundCloud, which gets them into an MP3 format, so be sure to follow me on there. Today's episode will be up a little later. Once it's on there, I will be adding them also to iTunes as podcasts, so again, be sure to check it out. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.